Hello. In Japan, the early 20th century was an incredibly difficult time. As dark clouds began to loom over the skies, tens of thousands of people would inevitably perish in massive explosions. The areas affected were utterly destroyed, further exacerbating Japan's already dire situation. It reached a point where those who did not resort to crime faced the very real risk of starving to death. During this turbulent era, there emerged a young woman from a poor rural background. With only a primary school education, she possessed an exceptionally sharp business acumen. Despite the hardships of the time, she managed to amass over 3 million yen in just 3 short years. Not only was she skilled at making money, but she was also strikingly beautiful and gentle, so much so that anyone passing by couldn't help but turn their heads for another look. However, this woman later became infamous as the Pan-Genian of Japan and was the first woman to be cued in Japan after the war. At the turn of the 20th century, Japan was a country in transition. In Saitama Prefecture, located in the heart of the Kanto Plain, just south of Tokyo, the area was once a typical agricultural region. The protagonist of today's story, Kobayashi Keio, was born in 1908 in Tamai Village, Oisato District, Saitama Prefecture. She was the fifth of 7 children in a rural farming family. The family lived in a place with limited arable land, making it extremely challenging to support a family of 9. Keio's childhood was marked by poverty, taking care of her younger siblings, doing household chores, and working on the farm. Perhaps because of the heavy burden she bore, Keio gradually developed a strong-willed and stubborn personality. She frequently argued with her siblings and even her parents. On one occasion, during a family barbecue, Keio became furious when her portion was smaller than others. In a fit of rage, she tipped over the entire pot of meat. In addition to her difficult temperament, she despised her past. Embarrassed by her parents' status as farmers, she often lied to her friends, claiming she came from a wealthy family in the village. At the age of 16, ignoring her family's advice, Keio left her hometown in search of a new life in Tokyo. However, with her limited education, she could only find work as a manager at a hotel. It was there that she was exposed to a lifestyle vastly different from that of farmers. Keio quickly learned how to handle situations and interact with others. Her ambition for wealth grew even stronger, setting the stage for what was to come in her future. At the time, Japanese society did not value women highly. They had little freedom in choosing their spouses and were often subjected to arranged marriages dictated by their families. Keio was no exception to this custom. In 1930, at the age of 22, Keio was arranged to marry Kobayashi Shijiro, a 27-year-old man. Shijiro, though not old, was frail and suffered from numerous ailments. As expected, their married life was far from harmonious. Keio was dissatisfied, but refrained from expressing her discontent. After a year, they had a son, but the child fell seriously ill and passed away. The following year, they had a daughter. The couple managed to lead a stable life by running a small grocery store. However, this peace did not last long. During wartime, despite Shijiro's frailty, he was conscripted to serve the country. By 1945, with Japan's surrender and unconditional defeat, the surviving men returned home from the war. Although Shijiro's body was intact, his mind was deeply scarred. He became irritable and violent, turning to alcohol. He refused to work, spending his days gambling and drinking, leaving all responsibilities to Keio. Over time, Keio became the sole breadwinner of the household. She loved money and was passionate about business, finding joy in earning it. Her thoughts were consumed by one thing: making money. During Japan's post-war chaos, the situation worsened. Resources were incredibly scarce, and those in power hoarded rare items to sell on the black market for profit. This drove the cost of goods to skyrocket, doubling prices and making life even more difficult for the people. Many starved to death, but Keio thrived. Her business grew rapidly as she sold bicycles, kimchi, and other specialty products. In this tumultuous period, her intelligence and adaptability allowed her to accumulate significant wealth. However, Keio's immense earnings stemmed largely from illicit activities. After her husband's mental instability, she began selling her body for money. Whether it was a street vendor, a utility collector, or anyone willing to pay for her services, she readily accommodated them. Yet, this was merely a facade for her larger schemes. The majority of her profits came from smuggling and selling contraband goods. At the time, Japan had strict bans on the private sale of rice, sugar, and other essential items. Ko saw this as an opportunity. She operated a grocery store as a front while secretly dealing in illegal goods. However, just as her business was flourishing, the police raided her store. It was unsurprising. After all, when everyone around was struggling, her sudden wealth inevitably drew suspicion. The investigator assigned to the case was Nakamura Yuichiro, a handsome 25-year-old police officer with an impressive physique. Seeing him, Ko devised a plan to seduce and manipulate him. Under the charm of a wealthy woman 18 years his senior, Nakamura eventually succumbed to her advances. Yet, their initial encounter evolved into mutual affection, leading to a sexual relationship. However, Ko threatened him, saying, "If you dare leave me, I'll report you to the police." With Nakamura's protection, Ko's business flourished. The two frequently met and maintained their intimate relationship. Meanwhile, Ko's husband, still alive at the time, discovered her infidelity. For any man, this was a grave humiliation. Enraged, he began stalking Ko, interfering with her meetings with Nakamura, and at times even abusing her. When Ko suggested divorce, her husband vehemently opposed the idea, fearing no one would take care of him due to his disability. The tension between Ko, Nakamura, and her husband grew unbearable. Constant surveillance left Ko and Nakamura frustrated and unable to meet freely. One day, during a rare moment alone, they exchanged glances and a dark idea formed. This decision marked the beginning of Ko's descent into an irreversible path. On October 2nd, 1952, Ko poisoned her husband, who was suffering from a cold, by adding potassium cyanide, KCN, to his cough medicine. He noticed a strange taste after a few sips, but continued drinking, only to collapse and die shortly after from poisoning. Neighbors were quick to suspect foul play, as his death came shortly after he uncovered Ko's affair. However, the autopsy revealed that Shijiro, Ko's husband, had died from a stroke attributed to his pre-existing poor health. This explanation led the authorities to cease further investigation. With her husband out of the way, Ko began living with Nakamura as she had wanted. Unfortunately, Nakamura only cared about her money and had no intention of marrying a woman much older than him, especially one implicated in her husband's murder. Their relationship eventually became public knowledge, leading to Nakamura losing his job due to his frequent acceptance of bribes. 2 years later, unable to bear his situation any longer, Nakamura married a young woman and abandoned Ko. This betrayal left Ko devastated. She repeatedly knocked on Nakamura's door, begging him to return to her, even threatening to harm his new wife. But Nakamura was unmoved. Rumors spread that Nakamura's disdain stemmed from Ko's age, her criminal past, and her unstable behavior. One unsettling incident highlighted Ko's mental instability. One night, Nakamura came home drunk and vomited. The next morning, Ko prepared him breakfast fried rice. When Nakamura looked closely, it appeared as though his vomit from the previous night was mixed in. Furious but speechless, Nakamura watched as Ko ate the food herself. This incident, combined with the memory of her murdering her husband, terrified Nakamura. Fearing for his life, he hastily cut ties with her. After moving to Nazashiobara, Ko expanded her business, including offering illicit services. She discreetly sold adult toys and obscene artwork while also acting as a moneylender. To maintain her clientele, Ko even became lovers with some of them, earning millions of yen annually. Ko then set her sights on acquiring the Japan Pavilion Hotel. However, negotiations with the owner, Kamasuk, proved difficult. Ko initially wanted to purchase the hotel outright, but Kamasuk refused, blaming its poor performance on his wife's inability to manage it. He proposed divorcing his wife and allowing Ko to take over, believing this would revive the business. To make this happen, Kamasuk suggested paying his wife 500,000 yen as severance to leave. While 500,000 yen was a modest amount for Ko, she was unwilling to spend it. One day, while out with Kamasuk, Ko suggested, "If we get rid of your wife, we could save that money and use it for better purposes." Shockingly, Kamasuk agreed without hesitation. Some rumors claimed that during severance negotiations, Ko forced the amount down to 300,000 yen, but Kamasuk's wife refused, causing the talks to collapse. Regardless of the reasons, the wife soon became their target. Ko devised a plan to eliminate Kamasuk's wife without acting directly. She turned to Daihara Mitsuyoshi, an employee at the Japan Pavilion. Mitsuyoshi, a drifter before working at the hotel, appeared naive and hardworking. At 36, he had little to no experience with women. After a few days of interaction, Ko identified Mitsuyoshi as the perfect pawn. She believed her charm could completely control him. One day, Ko approached Mitsuyoshi, softly calling his name, and lifted her skirt to reveal large bills tucked between her thighs. Unable to resist the temptation, Mitsuyoshi fell under her spell and agreed to do whatever she asked. Ko promised Mitsuyoshi 20,000 yen and the opportunity to embrace her freely after the job was done. Without hesitation, Mitsuyoshi agreed. On February 8, 1960, while Kamasuk's wife slept, Mitsuyoshi strangled her to death with a rope. Ko brought alcohol to celebrate by the corpse, drinking with Mitsuyoshi, a scene that would later serve as crucial evidence leading to her arrest. Afterward, they went to the kitchen, lifted the floorboards, and buried the body beneath, sealing it with concrete. The theory was that only the three of them knew about the incident. So, how did such precise rumors spread throughout the neighborhood? The truth was that after his wife's death, Kamasuk started experiencing mental issues. He openly declared that Ko had murdered his wife and buried her beneath the kitchen. This revelation terrified Ko and Mitsuyoshi. In panic, they exhumed the body and reburied it in the forest. Once this issue was dealt with, Ko invested 2 million yen into renovating the hotel. However, she later discovered that Kamasuk had deceived her. The hotel was deeply in debt and on the brink of bankruptcy. In a fit of rage, Ko ordered Mitsuyoshi to murder Kamasuk, using their old method, poisoning. On one occasion, while Kamasuk was eating, he detected a strange smell in his sake and miso soup. Alarmed, he avoided swallowing any food and left the house, thwarting Ko's plan. After some contemplation, Ko decided to take a more direct and violent approach. On New Year's Eve of 1960, after dinner, Ko entered Kamasuk's room with Mitsuyoshi, carrying a tray of tea. Seizing the moment when Kamasuk was off guard, Ko and Mitsuyoshi strangled him with a rope until he suffocated to death. Together, they buried his body beneath the hotel's hallway. Shortly after Kamasuk's death, Ko shifted her focus to Mitsuyoshi. Believing he knew too much, she planned to eliminate him as well. However, before she could act, the police came knocking at her door. The mysterious disappearance of the Japan Pavilion Hotel owner had raised suspicions among the neighbors, who were already skeptical of Ko. Although Ko tried to deceive them by claiming Kamasuk had gone to Tokyo to earn money, no one believed her. The neighbors reported their concerns to the police. The comb Ko had been carrying was a gift from Kamasuk's late wife's mother. Its presence with Ko led the authorities to suspect her and detain her for investigation. Around the same time, Mitsuyoshi was arrested for theft. During questioning, Mitsuyoshi didn't say much, but immediately confessed to murdering the couple, Kamasuk and his wife. Meanwhile, Ko initially denied any involvement in the crimes. She tried to use her charm to manipulate others. However, when Mitsuyoshi confessed, Ko couldn't maintain her composure and was forced to admit her guilt. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of the Japan Pavilion Hotel owners was finally resolved. As the case garnered widespread attention, the police received numerous anonymous letters. These letters highlighted that the death of Ko's previous husband years earlier was suspicious and even claimed the husband was murdered by Ko. During the police investigation, an unexpected twist occurred. Ko voluntarily confessed to killing her previous husband. She admitted to using potassium cyanide and revealed her accomplices. Among them was her lover, a police officer named Nakamura, who was promptly arrested. As the case unfolded, Ko gained infamy across Japan, earning nicknames such as Japan's Pavilion and the Evil Woman of the Showa era. In August 1963, after being tried at the Tochigi Prefecture Criminal Court, Ko and Mitsuyoshi were convicted of murder. Ko, the mastermind, was sentenced to death, while Mitsuyoshi received a life sentence. Nakamura, Ko's lover, maintained his innocence throughout. Due to insufficient evidence, he was acquitted of murder charges but was sentenced to 10 years in prison for illegal firearm possession. After the trial, the victims' families filed an appeal. In September 1965, following a retrial at the Tokyo High Court, both Ko and Mitsuyoshi were sentenced to death, while Nakamura's 10-year sentence was upheld. Despite further appeals, Japan's Supreme Court ultimately rejected their petitions. Remarkably, throughout the trial, Ko meticulously groomed herself and dressed elegantly in an attempt to seduce the judges. She was confident that her beauty would earn her a lighter sentence. She even flirted with prison guards, but her actions only deepened public disdain for her. Self-centered and utterly indifferent to human life, Ko never expressed remorse for her crimes. On June 10, 1970, the warden informed Ko that she would be executed the following day. After her final meal, Ko was executed on June 11, 1970, becoming the first woman to be executed in Japan after World War II. A renowned writer commented on the case. The difference between Ko and ordinary female criminals lies in her motivation. Most women commit crimes under the influence of others or due to intense emotions. Ko, however, acted entirely on her own decisions. She meticulously planned her crimes and even manipulated others into aiding her. Had she not been caught, she could have committed even more atrocities. The case was later adapted into a film titled Heaven Station, based entirely on these real-life events. And that concludes today's case. What do you think about Kobayashi Ko? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing cases. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.